Hi, co-creators. You're listening to the Life by Design podcast, where we're talking about going from default living to intentional living, taking a closer look at the way you approach life so that you can establish a life that you love to live. My name is Natalie Vrill, and I'm thrilled to be part of your journey to a more fulfilling life. Welcome to episode number 5. Today we are talking about awareness around where you are, which is important because knowing where you start from and what you have to work with is crucial in order to not overwhelm yourself. Many times we don't want to be honest with ourselves about where we stand because it's different from where we want to be. And I see this a lot in the workout studio. People having wishful thinking in terms of being more fit than what they actually are. So they take heavier weight and therefore being unable to complete the exercise, which have them to give up earlier instead of meeting themselves where they are, working with what they have, building up the muscles that are needed in order to lift heavier later on and actually feeling successful during the journey. We are talking today about how it's not what's going on around us. So it's not the number of the dumbbell that is important, but how you feel during the journey of working towards where you want to be, in order to make the journey more fun, feeling more successful, and wanting to stay on the journey instead of giving up and seeing it as a too big of a challenge, which becomes overwhelming. We wanted to find balance here. Another thing to be aware of is that we have a tendency to give our circumstances more weight than what they deserve. We think it's the number on the scale, the number on the bank account, the number of the dumbbell that tells the story of how successful we are, and therefore it impacts how we feel. We see the current circumstances as absolute rather than remembering that they are temporary. Now is just a springboard for the next moment. But if you stay focused on the springboard, on the current circumstance, instead of changing into something new, you just change into more of the same. And this is when we feel stuck, when we are creating more of the same over and over again. In order to move forward, we need to change our focus. So shifting, giving the details of your life all your attention, we need to raise our gaze a little bit higher and connecting with where you want to go. So holding your goal as your object of attention. Imagine driving a car from Switzerland to Sweden, and halfway there while you're in Germany, you wouldn't break down in tears, being completely upset that you're not in Sweden yet, that you're in the wrong country. You would not make your surrounding wrong for not being the country that you want to go to. You would understand that this is just part of the journey of moving from Switzerland to Sweden. You go through Germany. And as long as you're being pointed in the direction of the north, you will at one point end up in Sweden. So rather than being stressed, you will relax and start enjoying your surrounding rather than condemning them as wrong. You can appreciate the changing landscape. And life is really the same. We think that we want instant manifestation. I want it, bam, it's there. We believe that we want to be able to zap ourselves from Switzerland to Sweden. But really what you want is the journey. So imagine wanting to create a successful business. We believe that we just want to have the business that is up and running right away. But really you don't, because what you want is to create the skill set, the habits, the knowledge that it takes to run that business. So that it's something that you can do without being stressed out. That is just the result of your day-to-day life. If you're going from never running a business to all of a sudden having a full blooming business that requires your attention and decisions in areas you have no idea about, it will trigger insecurity and anxiety and overwhelmment. And it wouldn't take long until it's no longer a prosperous business. So what we want is not just the instant manifestation of our desires, but really it's the journey of becoming the expanded version of ourselves. So rather than giving the exterior world your full attention, Let's turn inwards and measure our progress by how we feel. And the only reason why you ever want anything is because you think that you will feel better in the having of it. So what you want is always a feeling. We use our external world as a reason to feel in a certain way because we are trained to observe and respond. And if what I'm observing is pleasing, I feel pleased. If what I'm observing is not pleasing, I don't feel so pleased. And there is no right and wrong in terms of how to approach life. But living this way is very conditional, meaning what you're focused on and where you're giving your energy to is trying to change the external world so that the circumstances can be more pleasing to observe and therefore for you to feel good. But anytime when we're using an external thing in order to create an internal emotion, we are actually creating an addiction and a dependency. So now I need the external world to become better and bigger and better and bigger, because when my dopamine receptor lights up from the external world, they become less sensitive, and that is where the addiction comes in. So you are just becoming more and more dependent on perfect circumstances. And let's be honest, they rarely are. By needing the circumstances to be flawless for you to feel good is really a losing game in the long run. And a more productive way and sustainable way is to focus your resources in learning how to feel good unconditionally. Despite what's going on, I can create a strong and good feeling inside of me. And you do this by raising your gaze. So focusing more on the future, on that which you want to create, instead of the current moment, which is actually the past, because as soon as you have interpreting what's going on, it's already in the past. So rather than just observing what is, can you focusing more in the future, what you want to create? Everything in life is created twice. First, as an idea. Second, as a manifested version. The iPhone, for example, was first created as an idea, as a concept, and then it was giving more attention, more focus, more resources, and it then became a manifested thing. So created 2 times, first as an idea and then as a manifested version. Something we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And because it is so vivid in our experience, we give it so much of our attention. It feels very attractive to us because we can see, hear, taste, feel, touch, and smell it. However, if what you're focusing on doesn't feel good to you, it's not beneficial for you. It's beneficial in the sense that you're sifting and sorting through life, and your life experience help you to collect the data in terms of your personal preferences, because when you know what you don't want, you launch a rocket of desire in terms of what you want. You create an idea of an improved version. So that's the first step in the creative process. But then in order to create it as a manifested version, as a circumstance in your life, you need to focus your energy and attention on that idea. So rather than focusing on what's in front of you, the manifested world that has already been created, and noticing how that is past tense created, it's already in the past. You have no creative power there. The way that I see it is a little bit like molding a piece of clay. When the clay is soft, when it's still a concept, it's very easy to shape it. But once it has been burned and you have a mug and it comes out from the oven, it's hard already. And then in order to create something new, you need to start fresh with a new soft piece of clay. So this is the same with ideas. As soon as something has been created, of course it lays the foundation that is the springboard for more, but it's really the new ideas that will create inspiration for you in order to move forward. Each moment in time can be divided into 2 aspects. We have emotional life and life situation. Emotional life is how you feel, and life situation is the time-bound facts. Your weight, who you're dating, your size of a bank account, your work, where you live, etc. When we take stock, we tend to give all our attention to the life situation, to the details of life. So again, if that is pleasing, we feel pleased. If it's not pleasing, we don't feel so pleased. So we intertwine our life situation with our emotional life. We're so trained to observe and then respond to what we are observing. And we do our best to control the life situation, the life details, in order for us to have a more pleasing response. Which again just create a stronger dependency that the circumstances will be perfect in order for me to have a good feeling. So we think if we just create a different result, a different circumstance, I will feel better. But the whole trick of life is to become more unconditional. No matter the condition, can I feel the way I want to feel? Instead of focusing on changing the world, can I focus on where I give my attention? Because it's not what's going on, but it's your attention to it that creates in your life experiences. We have a hard time understanding that we can feel outside of what's going on because we think what's going on around us creates our emotion when really it is where you put your focus. But we think just because something shows up in our life experiences, we need to give it our full attention. And we say things like, oh, but it's true. Shouldn't I give my attention to what's true? And there is just so many things that are true. It is true that there is war going on. It is true that there are kids starving. It's also true that the magnolia is blooming and that the spring is just around the corner. So using it's true as the criteria for what you give your attention to is not enough. Using your inner guidance system, your emotions, when you ask yourself, it's true, sure, but how does it feel? How does it feel when I'm focusing up on this area in my life? And if it doesn't feel good, focus on something else. You are the one who creates your own life experiences, and you create not by what happened in your life, but what you give your attention to. And you get to be the sifter and sorter, the selector, the focuser in terms of where you give your attention. So if you want to feel good, which is something that we all want to do, practicing focus on something that creates that emotion within you. So when we talk about awareness around where you are, it's not so much about the life situation, the details in your life. It's more about how you're feeling in this moment of time. Because how you feel affects how you're interpreting what's going on around you. So your emotional life is life. It's not what's going on, but how you're interpreting what's going on that creates your own life experiences, your own version of reality. And we all have a unique version of reality because we all have a unique interpretation of what's going on. And our interpretation depends on how you feel in your body at any moment of time. So if you feel good, you see things as if they're happening for you. If you feel less than good, we have a tendency to see things as if they're happening against us. And we cannot control, and we were actually not meant to control what's happening, but we are in control of how we feel. And by being more deliberate in where we give our attention, we can intentionally create an emotion within our body. So becoming aware of where you are in any moment of time and how you feel on an emotional level is more important than what's going on in terms of the life details in your life. So it's not what you have been created up until this point. That is just the springboard for the next moment. But it's all about how you're feeling right here, right now. And that will affect how you feel in the next moment, which actions you take, and therefore which result you are creating. tending to how you feel and learning to become more unconditional by being able to raise your gaze and focusing more on what you want to create moving forward instead of being stuck focusing on what you have created up until now. This is really the key for a happier life. If you're interested in learning more how to focus on that which you want to create instead of being stuck focusing on what you have created so far, go to lifebydesign.ch, book a consultation call with myself. Until next time, create awareness around how you feel in this moment. Raise your gaze, focusing on what you want to create moving forward. And remember, now is a springboard for the next.